When we discussed about email service, we did not discuss the protocols that are used to send emails. And exactly this is what we want to do now. And I several times mentioned that the protocol on the application layer of the TCP/IP stack that's used to communicate, to transmit emails is the SMTP protocol, the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. It is specified in a very early standard, internet standard, is RFC 821. It was published in 1982. Meanwhile, there are some last replacement 2008 by the RFC 5321. And this SMTP protocol, this is used to organize, to control communication between the message transfer agents. So SMTP communication between the message transfer units. That means the SMTP protocol regulates how an email message is to be transmitted. The SMTP protocol is constantly linked with the TCP port 25. You remember, SMTP protocol is using TCP protocol for transmitting data, and the communication via the SMTP protocol is easy to follow because only messages in 7-bit ASCII plaintext are exchanged. We already discussed how to encode other media types into the 7-bit ASCII, but the reason was, and this comes from the protocol that's used, the SMTP protocol. This SMTP protocol only allows to transmit 7-bit ASCII plaintext. The SMTP protocol also has gone through some expansions in the meantime since '82. So, for example, the extended SMTP protocol, but I will not go into detail here. Let's come back to our example that from the University Jena, someone wants to communicate with someone in the Hasso-Plattner Institute at the University Potsdam. And let's have a look how this email transport, how this SMTP communication is organized. So it starts, SMTP is using TCP, so all SMTP messages that are sent are encapsulated in TCP messages. So the SMTP communication starts with a TCP segment to the SMTP port 25, which signals to the receiver that an SMTP message that someone wants to send an SMTP message, there is sent back an answer which says, yes, ready for mail. This is the code 220. Then there is an introduction of the sender of the email, hello unipotsdam.de, and then on the Jena side, the answer is sent back with the code 250 to say hello to University Potsdam, and then the mail, the first parts of the mail are transmitted. And first part is to send the sender address. This is a mail from Meinl from University Potsdam.de, and then the server says, okay, I got it, and then the receiver is characterized as a message to Meyer at unijena.de. Reason is that the server on an institution, mail server on an institution, is used by many of the employees, by many of the people there, which have separate post boxes on the server, but the server is the same, so the server needs to know in which mailbox I have to transfer this message that now is coming. He says, okay, I got it, and then the data are transmitted. Data MIME type the data of the messages which are sent, and then it is communicated that really the end of the mail is received, and then the mail is coming. So the mail is transported, the mail, we saw it with the sender, with the receiver, with all this form. So you see the SMTP protocol in a very simple way organizes that the sender, that the receiver, that the mail server on the receiver side know who is the receiver, what to do with it, and then the email is sent and it is accepted, and then the communication is finished and the TCP connection is terminated. Beside of the communication between the message transfer agent, we have to organize the communication between the user and its mailbox. And POP3 is one famous protocol for this communication. The email server or the email gateway is able to send and to receive email messages directly via SMTP. And on such, in local area networks, in companies, typically such email gateways use only one dedicated mailbox. So one dedicated mailbox for every participant in the network. So the gateway has, like the name says, is something like a post office with many different mailboxes. And now the question is how the user can access the mail in his mailbox. So the network subscribers communicate with the email gateway to send and to receive their emails, and the communication to do this is regulated by different protocols, and one famous one is the POP3 protocol, the Post Office Protocol version 3. This is the communication between the user and its mailbox. POP3 takes care in this way about the communication between the user agent and the first MTA. The MTAs then use SMTP for communication, and on the other side, the last MTE is the communication with the user agent. On the receiver side is also the POP3 protocol can be used. The communication here is done with POP3, is done via TCP, and is done with the port. What was this? 110. So here's an example. We have the sender, we have the receiver. This is the user agent of the receiver, that's the user agent of the sender. We have the intermediate systems with the MTA. This is the MTA close to the user agent on the sender side. This is the POP client of the user agent. And here this MTA is the last MTA on the receiver side, on the email gateway. Let's make this clear. The sender wants to send an email, so the user agent sends this email hands over this email to the first MTA. MTAs are using SMTP for communication, possibly over a cascade of MTAs. And finally, the MTA is reached of the email gateway as it belongs to the receiver. Then the MTA, by means of this information, it's able for the email gateway to put this email in the right mailbox of the receiver. The email has the receiver address, so for the email gateway it's simple to put this mail he gets from the MTA in the right mailbox. And now the question, and this is exactly what POP3 is doing, how the receiver can access his email that was sent to him. Okay, then he will do this with POP3. there is a POP3, the user agent hands over this request to the POP3 client, and then over the internet, so it's possible that the receiver is on the way. It's not inside the company. It's not directly connected to the LAN. It's sent to the POP3 server located on the email gateway, and then the POP3 server accesses the mailbox. Of course, the client, the user has to authenticate, and the mailbox by POP3, the content of the mailbox can be communicated to the POP3 client, and on the receiver side can go over to the user agent, and then the user can read it. We have an understanding from the picture. So main task is first to provide a mechanism that the mail recipient can log in at the email gateway to check whether he is allowed to access his postbox. The authentication mechanism that's used is a password query. Then the email can be retrieved from the email from the postbox on the email gateway and placed and copied to the computer of the user. There it's possible to delete or to retrieve emails from the email gateway memory. I already mentioned the email is copied, completely copied on the local computer of the user, and then the user can work with the email. What is not possible with POP3, and this is exactly the point where another important protocol comes in, it's not possible to pre-select email in the post at side of the email gateway. It's also not possible to parallelly access this postbox from different devices. And the strategy, it was a very simple protocol, is to copy the content of the postbox to the local computer and then to allow the client, the recipient, to work through his emails, to change and to do things. When we see modern situation, then typically a user has different devices. So it becomes problematic if the mails are, by means of POP3, located only on one device, because next time the user wants to access his email, for example, by iPad or by others. So another protocol is needed and is invented and has become popular for that purpose. This is the IMAP protocol, the Interactive Mail Access Protocol. If you look to the RFC, you see it's much later designed than the POP protocol, is RFC 35.1. And this is also a protocol for the communication between the user and the email gateway. For IMAP protocol, the TCP is used, and the TCP port 143 is reserved. And IMAP is particularly suited for users which have multiple devices and want to be able to access their emails from different devices. For example, from their PC at the office, from their mobile phone, from the laptop at home. So in this way, different to POP3, the content of the mailbox is not copied to one of these devices. The gateway, the email gateway, is used as a central repository. And the different devices are only used to display the emails. So it gives the feeling, the user has a feeling that the mails are on his local device, but in reality they are on the email gateway, and only those mails he selects are displayed on his local computer. So in this way, and this is very important in contrast to POP3, IMAP does not copy the email completely to the local device of the system. The IMAP only copies the header, the email header, and in the email header there is the notion why the email comes from whom, who is the sender, and what is the content. So the mail itself stays stored at the email gateway. Now the user is free to decide which of the emails he wants to see and which of the emails he wants to process with the device he is using just in this moment. So pre-selection, which was not possible with POP3, is possible with IMAP. So here the selection and the sorting take place at the mail server side. The mail server is a central repository, so that this IMAP protocol is also very suited for devices which only a weak CPU with less power, because the device is only needed to display the mail to the user.